Arne Slot out, Iraola in, and the question is simple. How will Liverpool play under the Spanish manager, and does his style suit a big team? Well, that's what you'll learn today if you stick around for today's video. See, you guys probably missed us this period. We haven't posted anything ever since the news broke. Why the silence, you might ask? Well, no, we weren't sad about Slot leaving. His departure was expected, with all the rumours saying that the board are backing him into the new season. The real reason is, the second we saw Iraola's name mentioned, we jumped on some Bournemouth footage in order to analyse how his team plays. Now, this will be a two-part video. Today we will talk about the in-possession side of things. How does Iraola like to attack? Next time we will talk about defending and pressing. So, what are you waiting for? Hit the like button and hit the subscribe button and let us jump straight into it. When looking at Bournemouth's stats from last season, it is easy to understand why the Cherries were seen as a direct and chaotic side under Iraola. According to Opta analysts, they ranked first in the Premier League for direct attacks with 83. They also scored the most goals from direct play with 6. At the same time, they sat 11th for build-ups with 63 and only scored 4 goals from them, which placed them 8th in that area. On the surface, these numbers give you a clear idea of Iraola's principles and the way Bournemouth want to play. But at the same time, these stats can also be misleading. One person might see these numbers and think Bournemouth are a side that just hoofs the ball into a tall striker and hopes to win the second ball. Another person might think they prefer to sit deep, park the bus, and hit teams on the counter through fast wide players. But both of these ideas are wrong. The best way to explain how is to show you. Let us start with the build-up against high-pressing teams. Now, like any other Premier League side, Bournemouth will look to go direct to bypass pressing lines. Makes total sense given how everyone wants to press man-to-man these days. However, going long is not the only trick up Iraola's sleeve. A recurring theme from goal kicks and deeper area was the use of goalkeeper as a +1 in the first line. While the back four stretched across the full width of the pitch, the goalkeeper was not always asked to play risky passes through the middle. But having him on the ball still gave Bournemouth a big advantage. It allowed the centre-backs to split wider, the full-backs to push a little higher, and the pitch to become bigger for the opponents to cover. This increased the pressing distances for the other team and gave the player on the ball more time and more space to make the next decision. Higher up the pitch, the season's Premier League revelation, Eli Jr., would often roam and drop deeper to overload central areas. At the same time, one of the wingers would move into the half space to give Bournemouth another option inside. This movement also helped open the wide areas for the fullbacks to arrive into. Keyword here is to arrive. One more thing to note is that how pivot players would sometimes stagger, not only providing diagonal angles for the backline to access the centre, but to also stretch the opponent vertically in central areas. Now, shapes, numbers, and structures can never paint the full picture on their own. So instead, let us look at the player's behaviour and intentions. What's better than observing actual sequences of play? Here you can see the back four pulling as wide as possible, trying to increase the running distances for City's front four and stretch them horizontally. The snaggered pivot and the high front four were also there to stretch the opponent vertically, which created more space between the lines and made it harder for City to stay compact. Another important thing to notice is the immediate movement from the centre-backs once they released the ball. They did not just pass and stand still. They quickly moved again to provide support, offer a new passing angle, or give their teammates a safer option under pressure. After the ball was circulated across the back line, Truffert then played the direct pass into Krupi, who, as you can see, did a brilliant dummy to play his teammate through. So would this be considered a slow build-up or a direct build-up? I'll leave that for you to answer. Now, there's something we want to touch upon again. Is passing and moving. This is something you often see from Bournemouth's back line when they are under pressure. In the following sequence, James Hill, the centre-back, immediately moves into the free space behind O'Reilly, with Rayan dragging City's left-back wide and Smith supporting the play. Bournemouth found a way by outplaying the wide 3v3. From there, the team will look to access the centre through diagonal passes into Evanson, who is reliable when it comes to linking play or holding onto the ball. From there, Bournemouth will look to change the rhythm to quickly combine or simply find the run behind. But what if both are not possible? Well, that's when they pass the ball back in order to bait the pressure one more time. The perfect example of this behaviour is the goal they scored versus City to gift Arsenal the Premier League title. You can see here how they pass the ball back to invite pressure and create opening. And again, a quick sequence of pass and move from the midfielders. Here, Krupi, or the ball side winger, would drop deep to receive and arrive into space. Meanwhile, the fullbacks will constantly provide overlapping runs. Once pressure is broken down and the ball is progressed, Bournemouth would look to target the edge of the box with cutbacks or diagonals. This is because the player is great at decelerating and peeling off his marker to then have shots from the edge of the box. So is it always direct, long and chaos ball for Iraola? No, it is not. Stats might say so, but if you watch his sides, you understand that there is more to them. Now for the bigger question. How well does his team play against settled and low blocks? Well, let us explore that. Against settled blocks, where opponents do not press as high up the pitch, Bournemouth still look to keep the same intentions mentioned earlier while maintaining their direct style. For example, regressive passes are still used to pull teams higher and create space behind them. Width and depth are still applied to stretch the opponent both horizontally and vertically. The backline players will also use disguise actions to draw pressure before finding a free man. Higher up, the striker can drop and overload the middle, which brings uncertainty to the opposition defenders and makes it harder for them to know whether to follow or hold their position. At the same time, Bournemouth will keep making constant runs in behind, so even when they are facing a more settled block, they're still trying to create chaos, open spaces, and attack the moment the gap appears. The following sequence, which lasts over a minute, shows the different concepts Iraola applies in order to gain territory and find a way into the final third. If the direct ball is not played, support is quickly provided for the ball carrier so he can find a passing option. From there, Bournemouth start to change their rhythm and tempo of the attack. They can go from slow possession, with players taking more than 2 touches, into quick combinations, one-touch passes, and small flicks around the corner. These combinations are mostly played in wide areas, where Krupi often joins the overload and gives Bournemouth an extra option to connect the play. Again, constant supporting runs are made from the fullbacks, either to drag markers away or attack the vacant areas that open up. Once they reach the final third, playing in threes appears again, helping Bournemouth combine in tight spaces and surprises defenders before they have time to adjust. This kind of offensive play is made possible because of the double width Iraola likes to have in the final third. With a fullback and winger staying close to each other wide, Bournemouth can create constant 2v2 situations. They interchange passes, make underlapping and overlapping runs, and force opponents' block to move towards the ball. Once the block starts to gravitate wide, the central spaces become more open. That is when Bournemouth can find the cutback into the most dangerous area of the final third, where the number 10, the striker, or a late runner can arrive and attack the chance. So this is effective. Well, there is no better test than trying to score against Arsenal from settled possession. This was the sequence that led to Bournemouth's opener at the Emirates in their 2-1 win against Arsenal. And once again, you can see how active their wide players are in these 2v2 situations. The fullback and winger stay close enough to combine, but they are also constantly moving to create doubt for the defenders. One player can receive defeat, the other can run beyond, and the opponent is forced to keep adjusting. That movement is what helps Bournemouth shift the block, open the gap, and eventually find a way into the box. So now that we have discovered that Iraola likes to attack, what does that tell us about his fit at Liverpool? How will this style of play translate to a Champions League club? Playing once a week is completely different challenge compared to playing every 3 days. And because of that, maintaining the intensity and direct style Iraola loves could become difficult. On the same line of thought, how will the team fare against low blocks? This direct style can lose some of its efficiency when teams refuse to commit high up the pitch and the spaces are no longer there to attack. If opponents sit deeper, stay compact, and do not give Liverpool those running lanes, Iraola will need different ways to break them down. The good thing is, Iraola has evolved over the years. Some of the in-possession concepts discussed earlier have been added bit by bit over time. In the example shared above, not every Bournemouth attack came through a long ball. Possession was circulated, pressure was invited, switches were made to move blocks from side to side, and passes were played against the momentum of incoming pressure. Higher up the pitch, changing rhythms while playing in threes in final third will be crucial against deep blocks. With technical players like Wirtz, Ekitike, Isak, possibly Jones if he stays, and with the potential recruitment taking place in the summer, these concepts can only elevate the Reds offensively. Questions will still remain though. How far is Iraola willing to adapt to his new squad and to the demands of the Champions League football? Will the players buy into his ideas and fully commit to them? And most importantly, can he keep the core of what makes his football exciting while also adding the control needed at the highest level? What we mentioned earlier says that he's a great fit, and hopefully our observation will turn to be right. So guys, we said our piece, we now want to hear from you. What do you think of Iraola as the new manager? Is he the right choice? Let us know in the comment section below, and don't forget to the like button and hit the subscribe button for more Iraola content and new player signings, deep dives this summer. Thank you, and we'll see you all next time. Take care.